All right, guys. Here's my homemade critter trap. I already know it works because I've caught my dog and my cat in it just by putting some food in it. So that's pretty easy. But it looks like this. It's just wire kind of bent over on itself. This end is just pieces that have been cut and then tied together. They're actually just looped around right there. So I just cut the pieces long and then looped them back on themselves. Now, the cool thing about this wire is if you just take some of these off, you can leave a long piece if you need to go out and wrap it around something. I use that for my chicken tunnels out in the garden where I've got to do like a 90-degree. And so I've got to like miter the chicken tunnel and bend it back in and wire it together. I do that. I take a bunch of these off, and then it leaves me with a good piece of wire to use. But at any rate, I get sidetracked so easy, guys. Anybody who's watched my videos knows that. Now, here's a lever that I've created because just natural force isn't quite enough to make the trap drop. So the trap's on a teeter-totter, just on a standard teeter-totter, and you put the bait down at that end. And when it comes in through the opening and walks down towards the bait, it pushes on, let me push on that end. The weight of the animal's down here on this end. So if I push down on that cable just comes up through there. And it comes over to here and gets taut on that screw there. And then that creates a lever action. Well, there it goes. Just barely any pressure at all, and that thing falls. And I used to just run it from the cable. This is the piece I just cut off. From the cable over the top and through a hole like that. And it just sat down on that redwood 2x4 down there. And the pressure would pull on that pin, and the pin would come out. The pin would come out. And it would drop like that. Well, that worked okay until one day it rained and all this wood swelled up and the pin didn't want to slide out of the hole right there, that hole there. So I knew that metal on metal would be better, first of all, and then I had to try and devise a lever. So we know how a lever works. Everybody knows how a lever works, any sort of schooling. When you pull and you've got your lever arm and your pivot point and your short arm, you create a tremendous amount of torque. Well, the problem is that I'm pulling from this direction, but I want my torque to come in this direction. And it doesn't, it goes in the opposite. It goes towards the gate instead of pulling the pin out of the gate, which tightens my thing. It's all counterintuitive. So all I did was add a second lever that really has zero leverage ratio, a little bit more on this side, but I've created all my leverage out here. Now when I pull on this cable here, it's pulling this the same direction as the cable is pulling. And I could refine the crap out of this, and then to get that through there, can't see through the camera, and then that goes through my metal thing, which has a lot less friction. This eyelet's here just to grab the gate, so I push that into the, so you got, now here you've got metal on metal now right there. So it slides this little arm, which is just the end piece of this. It's this thicker metal down at the end that I just, like I said, I undid some of these and got myself a longer piece of metal. That way that arm goes through there, and that keeps everything kind of centered and aligned. I just bent one of them little brackets I had laying around, drilled a hole out on this side so that it's sitting metal on metal, and there's way less friction than metal on wood. So now just the slightest little weight down on the end of this thing, I mean, just I'm just barely touching it right now. Well, you got to get it to teeter-totter first at least. And I've got it to where the balancing point is way out towards the front. So they don't walk in and they don't walk in the front here and have it already start teeter-tottering and scare them. They have to walk in and it's stable until their whole entire body's in. Then they're over the halfway point, then it teeters on them. So it just takes the slightest little touch. You got to get it to teeter-totter though. See, once it starts to teeter-totter, now it's sitting level. And then just very little weight and that thing drops down in there. So there's your homemade critter trap. I know it's totally antiquated or whatever you want to call it. It's just, that's a Portagee small animal live catch trap, catch and release. Thanks for watching.